dear students. I welcome you, although I think you are only two, but two is much more than bigger number. I welcome you once again. I suppose that you have joined my earlier sessions on talent management. It is our third session. It's going to be a third session. First and second session, I've defined about what is talent management, or rather what is talent, and then I have talked about what is talent management and what is the importance of talent management. I think you understand that talent, as I've defined, I'm not going to define it right now, but briefly, talent, whatever qualities a person may have, if that is going to contribute to the performance of the organization, I'll call it as a talent. And for any organization to survive in a tough competition in the market, it has to have a dependence on the talents of the people working in the organization. And therefore, the talents of the people are the most precious, one of the most precious, what we call the resource for any organization. And since it's a scarce resource, we need to manage it. So that from that point of view, talent management is required. And for doing that, we require to have certain strategy. Now, strategy, the moment I call the word strategy, means that it has got connection with the organizational objectives, the performance of the organization, what they're going to achieve, what is their goal. Our talent management has to be connected with that, has to be in line with that. So with that perspective, let me just start with my presentation. Let us see what's there for you. Well, so today our topic is talent management strategy. And I begin with one important word, that every organization to run, it requires certain resources. And one of the most important resources, as we call it, as the financial resource or the financial capital in any organization. There are many other resources, but financial resource is one of the most important, rather, uh, requirement for an organization. But today, with the passage of time, it is being understood by people all over the world, by the organizations, that even beyond this financial capital, one most important capital today is the human resource. The human resource is considered to be capital today. If you don't have human resource in the organization, even if you have got all other resources, including the financial resource, probably you're not going to make any impact in the growth of the organization. Right? So it has been, although financial resources is important, the value of the human capital is now being widely known. And from that point of view, only that question of managing the talent has come into being, that the talent is being considered as a resource. Earlier, we used to talk about the human resource. The moment you say human resource, you say the cluster of people, a group of people, or a number of people working in the organization, but we are not only concerned with the human beings, we're only concerned with the internal talent or the qualities that has got that is going to contribute to the organization. If the human beings are properly developed, their talents will grow and those talents will be utilized for the organization. So what is more important for an organization is the talent within the human being. So there is a question of acquiring the talent, developing the talent, retaining the talent in the organization. Everything is coming about regarding this talent management, uh, the management of talent. Now, when you talk of talent management strategy, you need to understand today that talent management is directly connected with the business outcome of an organization. The business outcome means whatever we want to achieve, what is our goal in the organization, what we are planning to achieve in the over a period of time at different points of time. So that is possible to be achieved only when we can manage talent properly. And that is all and whole thing about the management of talent or talent management. So let us say another very important point here. That as you have said that financial capital, more than the financial capital, human capital is more important. But when you say that getting that human resource or the human talents in the organization in itself is not enough. Attracting the talent in the organization is important, As an organization, we must try to get the best of the talents available in the market, but not only getting them is enough, because we have to develop them, and not only develop them, we need to retain them. So that all these three stages are very important: hiring the talent, attracting the talent for the organization, hiring them, developing the talent within the organization, and then retaining them in the organization. If all these things, four stages are covered, then you can fairly say that you're managing the talent. So in that, is going to support the organizational performance very well. If we can retain talent with the organization, we can develop the talent with the organization, it is going to support our performance. But so, given that, it's important for us to make a strategy by which we can really acquire the talents, make the talents available in the organization, develop them, and make them remain within that. So the strategy will come from those points of view. And if there is a strategy, we need to first understand and see what are the drivers of talent management strategy. What are the things that makes us think about uh, making the talent management? What are the most important things that is connected with that? Talent management effectiveness. When we talk of the effectiveness, effective talent management are linked with rapid talent allocation, employee experience, and strategically minded HR leaders. Well, what do you mean by that rapid talent allocation? Let us see that. I'll first see diagrammatically. The rapid talent allocation means what? In any organization, there are different kinds of needs at different points of time of the talents at different roles and different positions. Now, if there is a need for a particular talent in a particular place or in a role, if you can get the talent immediately and make him engage in that work, that's going to help the organization. That's going to contribute to the organization. If, on the other hand, there is a requirement of talent, but the talent is not available, the organizational performance is going to suffer. And so, therefore, it's required not only the right person at the right place, but the right person at the right place at the right time whenever it's required. So, there is a relationship between talent management practice and the outcome of the organization. The one thing is rapid talent allocation. That means what? Organization should be quickly able to move the talent across the strategic priorities. Wherever there is a strategic priority, wherever there is a need for a particular talent, the organization, number one, they should have that talent with them. And not only that, they should be able to make in position that particular place immediately as the moment, as at every moment of time whenever it's required. And that is going to create most significant impact, because you cannot expect the functions of the organization to stop in between only because of the paucity of the talent or the lack of talent in the organization. And when you say that, as I have said you earlier, it is not merely getting the people, putting them in the proper place is important. And putting them in the proper place, then we need to see, most logical thing we need to see, that they should be engaged in that particular place, that particular work, in that particular role, and they feel very happy about it. They feel like to be within the organization, and they remain in the organization. And they will remain in the organization only when there is a positive experience they're getting. So there is a need for giving a positive experience, which we'll explain a little later. And then the third thing, important thing, is that the HR team should be strategic. And again, we have given stress on this fact. HR cannot function in isolation. The human resource department, the human resource team has to work with a strategic purpose. The strategic purpose here means they must understand and get themselves aligned with the organizational objectives, and then uh, whatever the requirement of the organization, they align with that, and they do their function accordingly. So HR team should be able to understand the strategy, what are the goals, what are the objectives, what are the strategy of the organization, what are the priorities of the business, and wherever there is need for human resource, they should be able to supply it then and there. So everything, their planning, their strategy has to be aligned with the organizational strategy. And if these three things are taken care of, we may call it that this will create an effective talent management, and that will improve the organization's performance. Organization will be mm, functioning better with that. So now let us see these 3 points once again. Rapid allocation of talent means what? The established fact that companies with rapid allocation of capital are likely to see high TRS, total return to shareholder. Now, this is on the basis of certain studies made. It has been seen that the organizations, those are practicing the talent management, they are giving better TRS, the total return to the shareholder, much better than those organizations who are not practicing that. And it has been seen statistically by some McKinsey study that public companies that quickly allocate talent, the respondents are 1.5 times more likely than the slower allocators. Means they are 1.5 times better operation than those who are not, who are allocating the talent slowly. So that means what? Allocation of talent, the right place at the right time is of a lot of importance. That has to be properly taken care of by the organizations. Rapid allocation of talent, the moment I talk about that, there are three things which are very important in it. Rapid talent allocation here will mean that wherever there is some strategic priority, these strategic priorities are over a period of time, it keeps on increasing and goes and gets dissolved. So there are intermittently there are different kinds of requirements in different places, different departments or different activities of the organization, and that has to be taken care of seamlessly. That the HR department should be able to reallocate the talents at different priorities at different point of time whenever it's required. So it has to be a continuous process. They should be highly sensible about this, should be highly sensitive about it. Wherever there is any requirement, uh, it should be provided to them. And for that, from that point of view, they need to be a little proactive. That what are the possible requirements at different points, at different uh, activities, at different departments that may come out in future, and they should be ready with that. They should be ready with that those requisite talents, requisite skilled people so that whenever there is a requirement, they should be able to provide that. The second important thing here will become the effective deployment of talent based on the skills needed. Now, this is one important thing also, that it is not merely deployment of people in a particular place. It has to be seen from the point of view what are the skills required, and the people who are being allocated to that place, they must have that requisite skill. So rapid allocation of talent does not mean only allocation, it allocation of the right people with the right skill. That is again is a part of this rapid allocation of talent. Means the organization, the HR department should be able to provide the people being sensitive about the various requirements at different points of time, at different places of the organization, at the right skill wherever it is required. But then this being so sensitive, being so proactive, being so systematic and methodical is possible when in an organization, when the executives of the organization, the executive team of the organization, they're also involved in this process of talent management, when they really appreciate and understand the importance of talent management. They don't merely think that you need to post a person and the work will be done. They should be also be able to understand and realize the importance of the talents. So if they are also involved in this process, then the rapid allocation will be possible, because then there will be a culture will be developed in the organization, in the HR department also, for being sensitive to the various requirements at different points of time as and when it's necessary. So they will be able to provide those people, and that is going to help the organization to grow. Well, the next important point here is that the HR involvement in employee experience. The employee experience, as I told you, it is initiated from the fact that it is not merely getting the people from the market is important. Although the process, again, I am repeating the process, the organization should be able to attract good people from the market. And from that point of view, they need to create some brand name in the market and get the best of the people, best of the talents on the market. But then getting get talents, good talents in the organization in itself is not enough. They should be able to retain them. When the question of retaining them comes into existence, the retention is possible when they will have a good experience in the organization, and that experience will stimulate them and motivate them to remain within the organization. So the second driver of effective talent management, it relates to the employee experience. Employee should get that experience specifically, and that experience will make them happy. Now, what are those kinds of experience? The experience may be they're getting good behavior, they're getting good relationship, they're getting good environment, they're getting rewards, they're getting proper and justified uh, compensation. Their 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 self-respect is there. They're getting empowerment in the organization. There is no, I mean, any kind of bias in the organization. Everything is going to create some experience in the minds of the people who are working. So that giving that experience is the responsibility of the HR department. And HR department has to be understand and take stock of this situation from time to time, and that how the people are experiencing the organization. What is their experience? Putting themselves in their shoe, they should understand that. And that if they can give that better experience, then the organization performance will increase for the simple reason. And happy person or a person who is getting good experiences likely to give better performance in the organization. And that mm, when a person is working in the organization to get that those things which I have said you earlier, increase according to that, they're getting their career path in the organization, they're getting opportunities in the organization, they are definitely going to remain within the organization happily, and they're going to contribute better. Well, the next point, very important point, is that, as I have told you earlier also, that the HR team need to be strategic. Again and again, we are repeating on this point, strategy. HR team should not think themselves as a separate entity. Everything has to be translated from the fact what is the organizational objective, what is the organizational strategy, what is the purpose of the organization. The purpose of the organization will define what kind of resource, what kind of talent is required, and according to that, to make those things available, how they should develop their people, how they should create that mental structure, those skills within the people, so that this can be used in the organization effectively for achievement of the organizational objective. So the third practice, as I said here, is effective talent management is the HR team. They should have a comprehensive understanding of the organization strategy and business priorities. That's also important to understand the business priorities. What are the priority areas where the organization can excel? And what are the priorities areas where the organization has to accomplish for their survival and for their excellence from both the points of view. So those organizations where the HR team is more strategy, they are likely to be, is a McKinsey's report, they are 1.4 times more likely to report outperforming competitors, and 2.5 times more likely to report the effective management of talent. So if a strategic minded HR team, they're going to outperform 1.4 times than their competitors, and 2.5 times better effective management of talent, those who are strategic minded HR teams. So we need to have all these three things. Number one, the strategic HR teams. Number two, do you remember what I've said? There is rapid allocation of the talents, HR involvement in giving the better and the positive experience to the people. All these three things together is going to build our talent strategy. These are the drivers of our talent management strategy. Well, after that, let us see what are the talent management strategy steps. The talent management strategy step, there are some steps which are very important, and those are to be followed by the people who are managing the talent in the organization, in the HR team. Number one, as I said you earlier, out of those three steps, one step was the HR team should be more strategic. And therefore, the first and the foremost important thing is to identify the organizational goals and strategies. If you do not understand the organizational goals, then you cannot make your planning according to the organizational strategy. So you have to understand the organizational goals and strategies. The HR team has to understand. They have to understand and identify what are the organizational drivers and challenges. What are the specific and pertinent points in the organization which is driving growth in the organization, and from that point of view, what are the challenges also they are facing from the market, from the environment. Now, to meet up with these challenges, how they should prepare the people within the organization to counter those things. So they must understand what are the drivers and what are the challenges, what are the forces they have got, what are the capacities they have got, what are the strengths they have got, and what are the challenges they're getting from the market. And those challenges are to be compensated, are to be faced with the people in the organization. So they need to understand it very clearly. So they need to identify the gaps out of that. The gaps here means what? What are the challenges? What are the goals of the organization, but towards achievement of those goals, what are the challenges being faced by the organization? What they wanted to achieve in the organization, but where they are lacking, and what they are achieving. When there is a gap, what is the gap? Now, we'll give you some examples later on. First try to understand what are the gaps. Gap between the expected performance and gap and the actual performance. When there is a gap between the two, understand those, then the HR department need to define the HR priorities and their goals. Depending upon the gaps, those gaps are to be fulfilled. If you understand that in this particular area of technology, we do not have skilled people, which is really creating problem uh, about in our production process or in our the process of selling the goods in the market, then there is lack of people who are skilled in this area. Then we need to create such programs, development programs, training programs, so that people can be given that growth and can achieve those things. If we think that if the organization thinks that there is a deficiency in the customer service, there are many people who are unsatisfied, many customers who are giving a complaints that they are not satisfied with the service of the organization. Now, that's a gap. Although that's a gap, which is the being faced by the organization, the HR department has to be sensitive to that. They must make a plan, chalk out a plan, and make it as a priority. Then how can we make our people develop so that they can give the better performance, better customer service, so that the customers get better experience, and in turn, that's going to help the performance of the organization. Therefore, it's becoming aligned with the organizational problems, organizational challenges, organizational objectives, and those are being translated ultimately to the HR department, and they are giving the solutions within the domain, whatever is their function. Their function is within the domain of developing the human resources, identifying the talents, and using the talents for the organizational growth. So they will have their priorities and goals according to those gaps, to fulfill those gaps, to compensate those gaps. Then they should inventory the talent management process, functions, and address gaps. They should make an inventory of those things, right? The inventory of people, inventory of human resource, inventory of management processes, HR processes, the functions. What are the things that worked well towards achievement of the goal of the organization? What are the things that was not well? What are the things that contributed well? What are the talents that contributed well? What are the skills that contributed well? What did not? To make a stock of those things, that will become giving us a more idea about, give us a better idea about filling the gaps in the organization. And not merely getting this, doing these things, there is a need for measuring the results in the organization. After achieving something, after following a process, after following a doing a particular function, after following a particular strategy, how the things are going to affect the organizational growth and the organizational performance, that has to be measured. And that will become a guideline for the HR department to take further future actions, so they can still do better than that by taking further processes. So the success and contribution of different processes and functions in the organization, that is very important to be written down. Those are to be recorded, documented, so that can help them in future to take further steps and better steps. So now, so far, what you have seen is that in the organization, the financial capital is not the only thing which is important. Today, now it is being increasingly understood that human capital is equal and to some extent even more important than the financial capital, even and any other kind of capital. So there is a need for managing the human capital. So there comes the importance of managing the talent in the organization. And so the talent management is coming into picture. And it is also being understood that it is not merely getting the talent from the market, from the environment. It's very important to get them, attract them in the organization, develop them, and to retain them within the organization. Right? That's an important point. And then we have seen that what are the drivers of talent management in the sense that what are the things that is important that is giving a push to the to making the talent management a successful talent management process in any organization. And those things are rapid allocation of talent. And as I said, is rapid allocation of talent means what? Getting making available the right kind of people at the right place at the right time also. So whenever they need to become more, what do you call is, uh, they should have a futuristic look, right? And they should understand wherever there will be need any kind of any department, any place, any division, they should be able to provide with those talented people in the organization. So rapid allocation will help them, help the organization to increase their performance. We have seen that another point we have seen that HR people should be involved in providing good experience to the HR, to the human resource, the people who are working in the organization. For the simple reason that if they get better experience in the organization, they're likely to stay in the organization for a more time. And that's what is required from the talent management process. That's a very important aspect of talent management. And the third thing that we have seen that the HR team need to be strategic. In the sense, they should be align their functions, their processes, and everything aligned with the organizational objectives and the organizational um, goals. And that is very important. Everything should be translated from that. An HR department should make their own planning, their priorities for the functions according to that. So now, although this is a very small part of the thing, I would like to ask you if you have got any question. You're only two, but still, if you have got any question, you can ask so that we can go forward later. Yes.
No question from my side, sir.
Hello?
Sir,
Hello.
Harpreet here.
Okay.
Yeah, Harpreet.
Sir, actually, I was going through these steps.
Hello.
Sir, last slide. Can you go back to the last slide?
Yes.
Sir, like I was going through these strategies, steps, talent management strategies. I was bit confused about we studied about human resource like also, and that human resource management and talent management, these steps seem to me as like on a similar pattern. Is there any difference between human resource management and talent management?
Well, I think, did you attend my first lecture? No, probably
I
not.
think, sir.
But anyway, I say that's a very important question. That we are talking about
So,
human resource development, human resource. Now today you are talking about talent management. Everything seems to be quite similar to that, right? That's your
sir.
question, right?
Yes, sir.
Now then try to understand this. There was a time when the HR function, we didn't used to call it as an HR function. We used to call it as personnel function, the personnel department, if you remember. And the personal department has a very little, very confined domain of working. And there is no question of thinking about the development of human resource. Rather, the human resource was not recognized at that time. But over a period of time, it was realized and understood by the different people all over the world that it is not merely engaging people and giving them salary. It is also important for an organization to think that since we're getting some resource, we are hiring certain resource, we should be able to get the best out of them. And if you think that you should get best out of them, we need to develop them. if we can develop the inner capabilities or the potential of a human being for which you are already paying, we'll be better compensated by that. So there the question came that we should develop people. So when you said that the development will come, then the human resource development came into being. We are talking of human resource development, human resource development. When you go further, it was seen and it was understood that we are not talking only HR human resource, but specifically talking about the contribution of the human being in the organization. When you say that contribution of human being, that contribution is directly being flown from the talents available within the human being. I'm not merely hiring a human resource. We are more concerned with the inner thing. So now it has become more specific, or gone to the more micro understanding of the human being, that talent is the most important thing within that human resource. So from that human resource development, human resource management, we are more specifically now talking about the talent management. So how these talents are to be kept in the organization, what is the importance of the talent, the talent, how we can make this talent available in the organization, and we can make them available continuously and retain them in the organization. So although there is a similarity, we are given a new nomenclature to it, give new name to it, and a new horizon, that it is not only talk of the human resource, we are not talking of the talents available. So while hiring also, we are focusing more on getting the talent, not only the human resource who is a qualified person. We will have to now find out, you have to take various steps by which you can identify the talents within a human being, and those specific people who are highly talented, we should be able to develop them and grow them. So it has come from the same thing. It has come from the same thing. It is quite similar, but now our outlook has changed, now more pointed toward the micro understanding of the within the human being, and that is the talent. Are you getting something at least from me?
Yes, sir, I got it. I got it. That is, I got it. That human resource management is a broader, and talent management, I could say, that is a very for a selected breed of people whom they feel that they are talented and that should be groomed for the future responsibilities.
They're much more specific. It's a much more specific action, right? That is the thing.
Got it, sir. Got it. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else? Kumkum?
So my question is a little from the practical side. I mean, from the theoretical point of view, it's all okay talking about talent management and whatever, right now also we read, and before that, while making assignment also, I was learning so many things from different websites and different things. My point is, like earlier I was in HR department, now I'm in L&D department, but I have always seen that when it comes to production people, they are not open up in terms of telling what are their requirements. So HR in that terms is not able to understand what is the talent requirement of the company. Just that when it comes to recruitment, they will just tell that we need these many people, and even when the people are not working properly, it's just the counseling part that will come in the purview of HR. And about being together on a strategic part, thinking about what can be done for the future, how we can develop the capabilities, all these things are actually not being shared with HR, because they still feel that HR as a person is just for the sake of doing some mandatory and sort of regular things like compensation and something which is not not
More a
these
personal
production
function, yeah.
yeah. So my point of view is like when it comes to training or capability building, or for that matter, talent management kind of a thing, still HR, falls back, being a partner with the production people and understanding their requirement, or for that matter, L&D, which is again a very very specific department meant for only capability building, they are also not able to know, because when they will go to HR or the production people, but they never trust these two people, HR or L&D as such, that they will be able to understand their requirement. So can you suggest something like as a L&D professional, how to reach out these people, how to do that buy-in, or how to actually understand what is their talent requirement? uh, I'm talking little from the practical perspective, because I'm really interested in this field, and I don't know how to go about it.
Well,
Yeah.
my first reaction would be that we are all evolving. Whatever
Yeah.
we read, whatever we are evolving, we are changing, we are growing. In the sense, whatever we study, whatever we read certain things, but still maybe we are yet to practice those things. And it's a process by which gradually, when you get that knowledge, maybe 1 day, 2 day, or 1 month, or 2 months, or 3 months, and over a period of time, those things will come into the horizon of our mind and you will start practicing. From that point of view, every knowledge initially may look to be impractical, but over a period of time, when the human experience changes, they gradually start practicing those things. They start realizing the importance of those things. So
Agree with you.
something may not be happening today. Don't be disheartened by that. Because when you are
Right.
propagating these things, the people are studying about talent management. Today or tomorrow, when you are at the helm of the affairs, probably you will also start thinking, yes, there's something like talent management that you should take care of. So this is a process, number one. Number two, as
Right.
you have said very rightly, there is an HR department, there is an L&D department. Now, HR and L&D, certain organizations, they don't have two separate departments. It may be one department. But if there are two
Right.
departments, it's very good. They're doing very specific functions. Well,
Yeah.
L&D department is concerned with, HR department is concerned with providing the people to the particular department, particular place where the people are required. L&D people are required to give that particular growth which is required, particular skill to these people. So definitely L&D people need to understand what skills are required to be given to them,
Yes.
what talents are required to be developed with these people. So
Right.
I think as an L&D people, you can always make an experiment with meeting the people. If you go and meet somebody, he is not going to kill you. You just meet him, talk to him. What are the requirements of a department? You can talk to anybody, any one particular worker in that place, one particular supervisor in that place. What are the things that is really contributing to your performance? And from there, you can understand what are the things that is required, what are the skills required, what are the understanding that is required, what are the attitudes that is required, and as we call it,
Right.
that cases are required in that, the knowledge, skills, and attitude, what is required. You can have
Right.
an understanding by talking to them. And over a period of time, what will happen, you will have some understanding, a feel, a sixth sense will develop, and you'll be able to understand what is the requirement of the department. And L&D department definitely need to understand what is the requirement of the various organization, not in number of in terms of number of people required, in terms of the talent or skill that is required by these people. HR
Exactly, sir.
department may think of number of people which is required, they will provide, and they will ask the L&D department to really grow some people in this area, this talent, this skills, and all that. So thereby, it has become more specific now. Yeah, I think now where lies the practical and where lies the impractical thing. Practicality depends upon you, how much you can do. Of course, the environment of the organization helps you. If the organization has got an environment where people are being inspired to do these kinds of things, you can do better. You can do better. But there may be certain organizations where things are stereotyped, nobody bothers about this. There is only formalities being done, then it becomes real difficult. But you have to bring the change. You have to bring the change. Think like this, that you are not only a simple L&D person, you are a person who is going to bring change in the organization. First, you have to bring the change in your outlook, and then you have to bring change in the organization. Yes, Kumkum, you have become silent. Tell me something.
No, sir, I was just listening to you very carefully because I agree with you, sir. Slowly things are changing because
Things
it's
are changing.
only 1.5 years, since I have joined L&D. But then earlier it was not even they were ready to share their IDBs, and they used to feel that why to give credit to L&D department when we can tackle or manage the trainings on our own. But now slowly, gradually things are changing. But still, I feel that when it comes to a little more technical things in nature, behavioral, though, yes, totally they agree with us. Yes, you are the people, you are the subject matter expert. You can very well take care of those trainings. But when it comes to technical things, they still feel they take a back foot, and they feel that L&D is just meant for taking the attendance or feedback or something. However, they are not the right people to look after the technical requirements. So yeah, but then things are changing, sir. Of course, we need to also work a little more, and then partner with them, and then show them that we can also manage the things.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is, things are changing, and over a period of time, things will have its impact. Well,
Right, sir. Thank
so,
you, sir.
thank you very much. So now, let us start with our next part. So I've given these tips one by one. you can take your time to understand these steps, And the first thing will be the identifying the organizational goals. We have done everything. Now we're just seeing step by step these steps. Identify the organizational goals and priorities. What are your organization's strategic, high level goals or priorities? Are there any upcoming change or new directions, initiatives for the organization? See, that is important. If there is a new upcoming change or new initiatives is going to be taken by the organization, there will be need for talented people, skilled people, and so you have to become ready with that. So, what are the goals of the organization? That need to be written by the HR department concerned. That first specifically find out what are the goals of the organization and the priorities of the organization. They'll describe those things, right, in a description of that these are the areas where the company is going to diversify. These are the areas where they're going to take new initiatives or new development, new growth they're going to do, and that the description is given. And then there comes the timing, when it's going to happen, at what point of time. That's going to take within 1 month, it is to be done, within 2 months or 6 months or one year down the line. What is the time limit? Though, so that will set the pace. Once you fix those goals and priorities, specify those things directly, write down those things, jot down those things. From there, all your ideas and thoughts will start flowing. As you know that the goal is the thing which helps us to, from there only all our thought process starts moving out. And that's a goal, fixing a goal is important. Similarly, HR department has to fix that goal aligned with the organizational goals and priorities. So that will be the first thing. The second step, identify the organizational drivers and challenges. What are the drivers of the organization? Means what are the things, what are the challenges and drivers? The drivers and challenges are the factors which makes the organization to grow, to go ahead, to do the functions, to fight for the survival. What are the things that's there? So identify and consider the key drivers and challenges that could impact your organization's ability to achieve its goal. Now, organization's ability will be impacted by different factors. The strengths of the organization, what are the strengths? And sometimes even weakness becomes a strength. In the sense, when there is a weakness, then we'll try to remove that. And that itself becomes a strength, and organization becomes able to overcome the things. So there is a drive for removing those weaknesses. That itself becomes a reason for being a driver. So when there are challenges, the challenges will make a person um, immediately ready to fight for it. And when that ready to fight for it comes into mind, then the new ideas, new capabilities, new abilities comes into out. So you need to understand consider both the internal and the external challenges. As I think you remember in the SWOT analysis, you see all these things. What are the internal challenges and what are the external challenges? Those are to be understood. External challenges from the environment. What are the internal challenges? That how we are deficient in certain areas, how there is a gap within the capacity or the attitude of the people in our organization, my organization, towards achievement of the organizational objectives. Now, this could include things like highly competitive job market also, new or changed legislation or regulations. Now try to understand it. This itself is a challenge. Highly competitive job market, and that is one very important thing to be understood today. We want good talent on the market, but there is a highly competitive job market. Everyone is searching for good talent. The moment you say that everyone is searching for the good talent, so there is availability of good talent. Now, even if availability is there, how to identify that? So identification of good talent in the market itself is a challenge. When everyone is searching for those people, every top organization, they're searching for good people in the market. So when the moment you say talk of good people in the market, there comes into question how much you're going to pay, what is your capacity to pay to the people, what's your brand name, why the people should come to you. And then the change legislations or regulations of the government, there may be certain changes which you have to follow. That itself can become a challenge. The results from an employee satisfaction survey or new technology, even those are the challenges. The employee satisfaction survey says that the people are not highly satisfied within your organization, and people are being satisfied in another organization which is a competitor. So that's a challenge for you, that how you have to change yourself so that you can attract better people the better people from the market, and can which can contribute to the growth of your organization. Now, and there may be the new technology that's required, right? New technologies come into the market. Now, for using those new technologies, what kind of capacity and capability do you have got? So you need to understand what are the challenges that is being faced internally and externally. And out of that, what are the drivers? What are the intrinsic force that you have got and capabilities that you have got within you, which can make you grow? Need to understand those things and write down those things, right? The drivers and the challenges. I'll give one example a little later. Step 3 is conducting a gap analysis. And I was telling you earlier, the gap analysis is very important. Compare where the organization is today with where it wants to be. You have seen it many times. Again and again, you talk about that. Now, only difference is now we're connecting it talent management, where the organization is today and where it wants to be. And the moment you see where it wants to be, if it wants to be in that position, what kind of people are required? That is the question, right? Identify the gap that needs to address in order to achieve its goal. What are the gap that is needed? Now here the gap means what? Gap in terms of the quality people in the organization. If there is a performance gap, this performance gap will be translated into requirement of quality people and talented people in the organization. It may be there may be a gap according to it may be a gap due to the fact that good people are not remaining in this organization, they're leaving the organization. Now you have to identify those gaps. Identify those gaps because of which we are not being able to achieve the goals, right? So towards achievement of goal, which gaps are to be fulfilled? Now to identify each gap, consider also risk of not addressing the gap. Means what? If you there is a gap in the sense, say for example, as you're saying, we require some kind of skilled people in the organization, and we are lacking in that in a as skilled people in a particular technology, we're lacking in that. We're lacking in that, and if you become complacent with it, then you are going to be failure, total failure, right? You have to think it is a risk. The moment you say it's a risk, we become more ready to fight it. It's not merely a statement that there is a gap. It's not merely a fact that is a gap. It should stop you. It should not. It should deny you sleep. That this is a risk for the organization, and how I'm going to meet it, how I'm going to compensate it, how I'm going to address it. So that gap is the most important thing. Gap becomes the thing. It becomes a kind of driver for us to work for this, to fight for it, and find the solutions. Now, I'll give an example here. If your organization has a goal to rank #1 in the industry for customer satisfaction, you need to identify your current customer satisfaction rating. So if it's your one goal, that we will become the best of the customer satisfaction organization. We'll give the best of the customer satisfaction. And if that is so, then you have to identify where do you stand. Means what is the gap? Now, how much below you are than the expected customer satisfaction. The customer satisfaction rating you have to find out, and if you want to have that rating which is the highest in the industry, you have to identify that also. What is the highest rank in the industry, and what is the rank you are having in terms of different parameters. Then you identify the gap between the two. So now there is a risk. If you do not take care of this, not improving this customer satisfaction, what will happen? You are going to be failure in the market. Your market share will go down. Your sales will go down. That's a risk. The moment there is a risk, the bell starts ringing. You have to become very careful. The siren starts ringing. You have to become very careful. So the important thing is now you need to make a gap analysis. Probably earlier it was being seen in the other departments, not in the HR department. Now the HR department has also to find out a gap analysis. That if we want to have customer satisfaction, The other department may think of, the strategic department may think of the sales or the productions. You are not concerned with it, but today you have to become concerned for the good sales or the required sales and required goal that is, or that you have identified for. For that, what kind of people are required? If you don't have that, then you have to develop it. So the conducting the gap analysis is very, very highly required. And then here's an example here. Goal is what? You have to write down. Hash one in the industry rank, say share of 13%. Gap is need to increase customer satisfaction rating by 7.7% points. Maybe you are at 6% point, now to raise it to 13% point to make it 7% point increase. If you don't do that, the risk is drop in the market for customer satisfaction, drop in market position from hash 2 to hash 3, decrease sale 0.5 million. I mean, there is a tangible quantitative information you have to find out, which is not being seen earlier. So you have to become more specific, the measurement has to be very specific, tangible, and you have to work on that and should find out now what are the remedies that is possible and what the role the HR department can play in that. And that's what then you have to think about what you can do. So you have to define your HR priorities and the goals. HR priorities and goals. Based on the goals, challenges, and gaps that you've identified in the earlier first 1, 2, 3 steps, identify the HR goals. That if there is a gap, what the HR department can do to remove this gap, to develop the people, develop the skilled people, so it can support the organization to achieve its goals, right? So you can write down 3 to 5 goals, conducting these kinds of trainings to develop the skills of the people, to give better satisfaction, a better experience to the people. These kinds of processes and procedures can be adopted in the organization. We should take care of the career path. We should contribute such and such thing. There are various certain goals so that you can create that, develop people, give better experience to the people. So they remain with the organization and they remain developed. So and you have to make a smart goal. You know, all of you, that specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound means everything should be very tangible, very clearly worded things, clearly spelled out things. Link them to the applicable corporate goals. What does it mean? It means that the moment you say that I'm going to develop some people, you have to think it, that by developing that, where it is going to affect, in what terms you're going to get the result, in terms of the corporate achievement of the corporate goals. You have to link it to that. That linking is very much important. So you can look ahead, what is the goal of the organization and how I am contributing towards that. We are contributing towards that by achieving our goals. Our goal is subjected to the goal of the organization. So while defining your measures of success, make sure you include ways to measure both the implementation and effectiveness. So when you are finding out the year goals, you have to find out how we are going to implement, when you are going to implement, the time period, and how effectively you are going to implement, how we are going to evaluate that. Was the initiative executed as planned means what? Whatever you have done after doing that, you see that what has been executed by you, has it been according to the plan? If not, so what are the reasons, right? And by doing that, could we have the desired effect that we expected in the beginning? So you can find out few things here. Number one, you have to find out the organizational goal, and from that you have to identify, draw out your goals. Your goals mean HR goals, 3 to 5 goals out of that, and those goals have to be very specific, smart goals, and you have to link it to the corporate goals. That by achieving these goals, how this is going to affect the corporate goals, and these are to be measured, and measured not in terms of what is this, in terms of the implementation as well as the effectiveness. You have to see that whether after doing that, implementing these strategies, the processes and procedures that you've adopted, what kind of effectiveness you're getting. Are you getting the desired effect? That is our step 4. An example. This is a case of coordinate training in customer service competencies for support organization. So you want to increase the customer service competency of the employees. Description, source training courses in customer focus. So you have to make training programs in customer focus, communication, analytical thinking for the support organization to help improve individual and overall ratings for these competencies. So you have to develop people in the area of communication, analytical thinking towards customer focus. And then you have to find out the dates. The timing has to be fixed. That by the end of Q2, you're going to identify the courses and activities, and by the end of the Q4, we're going to start with the courses and activities. Everything is pre-decided. Then the measurement. The relevant training courses sourced by end of Q2. Courses are scheduled to held before and after Q4. 90% of support staff complete the training by the end of Q4. So in terms of how much you could give, right, to the how much training you could give by the end of the Q4, that is also to be seen. The priority, you define the priority. The priority is very high, maybe because of the fact that the lack of customer service, lack of customer satisfaction is going to affect the organizational sales and the profit. Dependency, yes. What are the dependencies? Maybe you have to write that. Budget for training course needs to be approved before end of Q1. Well, this is all thinking. You have to think ahead of it. If you're going to make any program in the Q2, you have to think ahead of the quarter. Being proactive, we need to understand that it must start functioning from the Q1 itself, so that we can really do it in the Q2. So the budget has to be finalized. The resources, you may have to find out what the resources. Maybe it is the regular HR staff. Maybe you may have to, depending on the priority and importance of it and the gap that is there, you may have to hire the outside consultancy firms also. That will depend upon what is your capability, what is your budget, and what is the importance of that. The corporate goal supported, yes. How this is going to affect the corporate goal? It's going to affect the corporate goal in terms of it will become a rank one in the industry for customer satisfaction. That's an example of how we'll draw out the picture from it. The step 5, inventory or talent management process and functions. Whatever you do, you may have to take certain processes, we have to change some new, the existing process, make something new, right? So that you can really achieve the goal of the organization. So whatever is there, those are to be, the inventories are to be kept with them, those are to be documented. You have to keep it ready, because for the next step, you may have to follow that, or maybe you have to make some better development so that you can do even better than what you have done, right? So the third point here is, see where gaps or needed changes are identified, put plans in place to address them. So if things are ready with us, and you can understand if these kinds of gaps, we are going to these kinds of things, it's documented, that can help us to do the things more easily. And not only that, it will give us a point from where you can grow further. We can do still something better than that. What we were doing earlier, now can you do something better than this? That question will, that point of view may come in between. Step 6, measure the results and communicate success and contributions. I'll read out these points. With your HR goals and priorities in place, it's important to assess and measure their effectiveness, communicate the results to the organization. Well, you have to find out what you have done. You have to make an assessment of that. You have to measure that. How effective was your processes that you thought of? And whatever you thought of in the beginning, has that been translated into action and results? And if it is so, you need to communicate to the organization. That process is very important. The people should know how we have grown. Your organization must know what steps you have taken and how the organization has gone ahead. That always keeps the hopes and aspirations of people high. That creates a better mental attitude. So you need to communicate to the organization. That's what you have done. As you work on achieving each goal, make sure you track relevant metrics. Every time you define the relevant metrics and to measure it, so you can report on progress and success. Each and every step has to be evaluated and measured, so that in every step you can understand how far you have grown. And if you have not grown, what corrective actions are required to be taken and what corrective action has been taken. That will show you a path for the next time. This is important to help you determine if the goals or associated initiative is effective and is worth retaining or not. This is a general process of management where you do take some steps and you make an assessment. The steps have been taken, that is worth or not, whether the goals have been achieved by it or not, whether the process that was adopted is sufficient, whether you should retain it or you should uh, stop it and do something new. So you need to understand that what are the implementations you have done, whether that has been effective or not. If that is effective, those are to be followed, documented for future. As also whatever thing is, which things have been executed, whether that it is as per the planning, the initiative that they've taken that is bringing the desired effect or not. So those are to be found out and those are to be communicated to the people. So you can understand there are 6 steps which you should follow to implement this talent process, the talent management strategy. Everything starts from the organization goal and it ends in assessing and evaluating the performance that has been done by you. So now we have come to the end of this session. It was a small session, but more elaborate. And I would like that if you have got any question, but before that question, I'll tell you one thing. I've given you some materials here, which you can write down and you can get from the website. These are some relevant materials which you can be helpful for you to understand. And one more, I don't know whether I should announce today or not. I was thinking the next time when you meet in the next session, so far it's happening that you are asking questions to me. I was planning maybe not next time, maybe probably today it is our 3rd session, maybe at the 5th session possibly. I'll start with asking questions to you. You are always asking questions to me. I'll ask questions to you.
That will be welcome,
so
sir. That will be welcome. I agree with you, Kumkum, for that. Yes.
Very relevant question.
But sir, we are always so full of questions, no? Because things, whatever is theoretically mentioned there, whatever we do in the actual operational area, it's a huge difference. Seriously speaking, so whenever we get about something new, we always feel, when are we going to do this, or are we actually able to do this? Like you were talking about, finding the gaps, goals. We keep listening about goals, and goals. But by the time those goals reaches to the factory gate and the managers or the operational managers, it'll never come to us, because I don't know, but I think every department works in silos. They feel that this is only our goal and that is the HR goals. So they never cooperate with us, and we always feel that we are not capable enough to take up those goals, targets that's being given to the people, and understanding the capability whatsoever it is, sir. So practical scenario is immensely different than what is available. Understandable what you're talking about, as I said, understandable, and I agree also, but practically not possible.
You see, you do not do everything which you are consciously remembering. There are many things which is subconsciously you know it. In your works, if you see it from a different point of view, become making yourself isolated from that as an observer, you'll find in all your work the things that you're learning from here, there'll be some image of that, some steps you're taking accordingly. And it's not necessary whatever you're learning, you'll be able to implement 100% of that. If you learn 100 things, maybe you'll get 10%, 20%, 30%, depending upon your organization and your environment. You will gradually be able to implement it. May not be able to implement completely, but the learnings will always remain within your mind, in your subconscious, and it will help you to take. Maybe you are not being able to take all the steps, but definitely you are taking some steps, right? And it's over a period, and not only that, whatever you understand, the other people in the other department, they do not understand that. They have not been exposed to the understandings and knowledges, right? It's your duty to educate them to the extent possible, right? So other things will go like this, you cannot say that 100% what you are learning here, you'll go there. No, it will go to some extent, and it's your effort how much you will go.
Okay. I have one question. It is, I hope you have finished. I hope I'm not interrupting.
Please tell me, I couldn't follow you.
Okay. Okay. So my question is regarding like managing the quality people or the retaining. You emphasize on the quality people of that talent management, right? Now we have key performance indicators to measure, but somehow the deserving people who does not have some situational base, they do not have their KPIs up to the measure to be categorized under talented people. However, they are quality people. So how to recognize such people and have a plan for these people who could not perform in the KPI but have immense potential?
Yeah, but you have said to one thing here, they are not talented people, but they're quality people. I cannot understand.
No. They are talented people. See, हमारे पास में KPIs होते हैं सब. जनरली ये एक परसेप्शन होता है कंपनी का कि अगर वो कोई भी है टैलेंट आपका एम्प्लॉय है, वो अगर KPI में above 90% या 95% अचीव कर रहा है, then he is a quality person, right? He is a talented person. बट कभी ऐसे सिनारियोज हो जाता है कि जिस कारण से उसका वो KPI अचीव नहीं हो पाता है. मे बी वो उस कंडीशन में है या उसका एनवायरमेंट इस तरीके का है कि वो KPI के लिए उसके पास बहुत ही कम अमाउंट है अचीव करने के लिए, स्कोप कम है, ठीक है, बट ही इज अ टैलेंटेड पर्सन. अब समहाउ आपके जो KPIs के जो मेजरमेंट होते हैं वो टैलेंट में नहीं आ पाता है जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ दैट कंस्ट्रेंट. ओके, सो ऐसे लोगों के लिए राइट, तो ऐसे लोगों के लिए जो कि टैलेंटेड हैं, दे हैव द हाई पोटेंशियल, बट जो हमारे की परफॉर्मेंस इंडिकेटर्स हैं उसमें शो नहीं होते. सो व्हाट कैन वी डू फॉर देम when we are developing talent?
See,
or when we are
when you were telling that he is a talented person, but because of certain environmental conditions they could not achieve that KPI, you need to think about them, how we can change their environment so that they can still better contribute. But the basically is a talented person, you understand, talented person in the sense that he's contributing to the performance in the organization. If he's doing so, how we can change their environment, to what extent you can change their environment so that they can give still better and they can achieve the KPIs also, right? You have to find out the ways and means. Everything will not be straight cut. There will be issues. There will be issues like this. You have to break your head to think about if this person is really talented person, he has got many good qualities within him, how we can either reallocating or by changing his environment or by modifying his job, what way we can get best and better out of him. That you have to think. But there lies the importance of the department head also is very important. And that manager and people is more important. You can give a suggestion to them. You can play more advisory role to them, right? And making them understand this is the thing, this is an asset to you, how you can change this position. So, and you can try. You have to fill the gap. Gap will go for 100% is not necessary. The only problem comes there when the gap is not completely fulfilled. People say it is impractical. No, it's not impractical. Gap may not be fulfilled completely, but it tends to be completed. You're going into that path in itself is good. You're not trying for that. And break your head and try to see what best you can do to get that situation. As you have said very rightly that he is a good person, talented person, but he is not being able to achieve the KPI because of certain conditions. See if we can change that condition. How we can change that condition. And there the role of the departmental head will become very, very important. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think others have gone.
No, sir, everybody is here only.
Everybody is here. How many are here? 2 are here.
I think 5, 6 people were there, sir. Not you were thinking it's 2 only, but me, Neelam, then
5, 6 people are there.
yeah, Saurabh, Rajpreet, Harpreet.
Saurabh is also there. Yes, anybody has any question? Otherwise, we will call it a day.
No question, sir. All clear.
No question is there.
I have so many questions. I will ask you later.
Or probably we are waiting for 5th class to come in.
Okay. So next time, if you are 5, 6 people, I am announcing that next time I am not going to spare you. I'll ask you questions. You have
Sure,
asked me
sure,
too
sure,
many
sure,
questions.
sir.
That will be welcome, sir.
That will be
It
Looking
is,
forward.
that will be better, sir.
yes.
We get to learn many things and then with
And
this question, answer, and
in
insights.
और इसके बाद ना क्लैरिटी बहुत ज्यादा आ जाएगी that we